Hello, wargamers, game designers, and map makers. Today we are looking at the Counter Designer app, and we're going to be building a basic counter and showing you some of the tools and some of the screens that are going to be necessary for you to build out your entire counter sheet. First things first, this Counter Designer is currently in beta, so you may experience some bugs. Keep that in mind, and if you do encounter something, please let us know so we can fix that immediately. With that said, let's go ahead and show you how to make a basic counter. This is the loading screen once you get in, and it's going to default to an infantry unit. This is just the default. We're going to be able to change all of that. Now, I'm going to show you a lot of stuff in this video, so the first thing I wanted to let you know is that we're here in the counter tab section. So this is what we see in the left panel. And the first thing I want to show you is that we can preview this counter with rounded corners, and it will export in rounded corners. So for example, if you wanted to do a vassal type of game, or if you wanted to show some kind of a preview of what your counters might look like with rounded corners, that's one way of doing it. We're going to leave that off for now. The next thing you'll see is grid. Now you can do this with Control G or clicking on grid here. And this is going to give you a grid of where the safe zones are on this counter. So red is safe zone. Anything that you put on the outside of this safe zone area might get cut off or could get cut off. So just keep that in mind, depending on who is your printing company that's making these. Talk to them and find out what the distance is on these. For the purpose of this video, these counters are going to be 0.625 or 5/8 counter. This is the actual size preview. You can actually take a ruler to it and measure it if you want. And that's what we're designing here. So if your printing service has a different defaulted safety area, find out what that is. But this is something that we created just to keep you from going too far out into some place where you're not going to be able to get it printed. All right, the next thing that we do is you can have the grid size change, and you can also change the opacity of that grid if you don't like to see it so bright. You don't have to design with it on. And if you export an image, whether it's a PNG or an SVG vector image, this grid will not print with it. So you can keep it on to design, and don't worry about it. It's not going to be printed out this way. Next things here is these are the default colors for just about everything that's going to go on this counter. Now later on in the specific symbols, texts, and shapes, we can also change those colors. But if we wanted to do, for example, let's go ahead and have a little fun here. Let's do a World War II American unit. Let's take this grid out so we can see this. So we're going to give it kind of a khaki green color. Let's go with, well, there we go. Let's go with that color. Now we're going to default the text colors on this one. Let's say we wanted to make them, for whatever reason, we wanted to make them white. So we can have white there. And let's say that the symbol shape we wanted to have also the same color as our green here. You can take the little eyedropper here, grab that, just click here or here, wherever you want to click on, and it'll change that color to the same. If you don't want to do it that way, we have RGB colors, and you can click this little buttons down here. You can change that to HSL, or my favorite, hex codes. So whatever works for you, this is a great way to go ahead and change the colors. The default lines, we can change that as well. So let's say we wanted to make that white, and then the icon color interior, we can make this a different color as well if we wanted to. So let's say that's our basic counter colors. And now we're going to proceed to the next section, which is symbols. This is the fun part, right? In the symbols library, we have a couple of things going on. Whatever color you design here, these counter previews on the left will show up as the same color. And this is done on purpose so you can see what they would all look like in that particular color. Now, when we save these counters, they can be saved in different colors and different color schemes. So I'll show you how to do that as well here in a moment. In the symbols tab, in the symbols section here in the left panel, we're always going to show this rounded corners and grids. So you can always turn this on and off no matter where you're at in the sequence of designing your your counters. The very next thing we have here is we can have NATO or silhouettes, and we are going to be adding more symbols and silhouettes. The unit size, we can open this and we have every conceivable unit size from squad to section, platoon, company, battalion, and so on. Just everything you can imagine here. So let's go ahead and make this a platoon, and let's make this platoon a airborne platoon. You're going to notice here this additional screen and that there's a glow around here. The glow means that it's currently highlighted. If you click anywhere outside of that, this extra screen comes off. The glow goes away. You can also hit the Enter key on your keyboard. Clicking it back on, we see more information here. Let me show you how this is going to work. First of all, we have what I like to show you is that you have these colors that we had already set before. So if you wanted to go ahead and tweak these or change them again, you can do so. And you can also change the outline width of the counter. So if you wanted to make it thinner, you could do so if you wanted to do that. And if you wanted to make them thicker, you can certainly do that. So in this case, we're going to put them at 6 pixels, and that's what you have. Also notice I just accidentally hit the text down here, and when you click that on, a different box pops up. We're going to cover all of that. Let's go back to our symbols. Now there's a bunch of different things here you can do. This is for color matching and so forth. This is more of an advanced feature, so I don't want to cover that in this tutorial as I want to get through this quickly. Now let's go to text, which is the next item here in our counter design. And again, we have different colors that you can change around. You can change the outline of the text if you have an outline. So for example, if you wanted to do an outline and you wanted to show that text outline, you can click on here. And now you have an outline. I know a lot of folks don't like outlines, but again, this is a designer's choice. We're giving you the tools. You decide how you want your counters to look like. Let's go ahead and turn off outline, and we're back to this. And you're going to notice one thing right off the bat here is that these dashes and the numbers are very close to each other. So the spacing between the text is called kerning. So if you increase the kerning, it'll space them out for you from the center out. You can also change the weight if you want regular, italicized, things like that. And if you want to change these numbers, let's say that this particular unit had a different strength number. So we can go up here into the label section, and let's just change that to a 4. Now, all we have to do is hit replace, not add, because that'll add another text layer, which will come here on the right side. But if we hit replace text, it just changes automatically. And so we're done there. And then you can also change the different fonts that are available here. We have a whole bunch of different fonts. So let's say you wanted it, I don't know, maybe a Times Roman style font. You can do so. And there you have it. You can change the size or rotate the fonts here. To change the size, and all you have to do is if you have a center mouse wheel on a PC, for example, hold shift it down, and while the little hand is over the text area, you just scroll up to make it larger, scroll down to make it smaller. Now, let's say that you wanted to give this little unit its own numerical unit number here on the side. Usually it's put on the right side, sometimes on the left. What you would do is, let's give that a number. Let's say it's the 1 of 2 of, 5 of 2, something like this. You can hit add text. It is adding it here. Let's make that smaller. And let's go ahead and rotate that. We can go here to rotate, -90, and that puts it perfectly right there on our side. Now, since it's an American unit, we wanted to give it a little American star shape. We have some shapes here that if we've created, we have a US star symbol. You can add that shape, and we can certainly add it right here on the side. Let's turn on our grids just to make sure we're not going too far out. And that is a basic counter. One last thing to do here is let's save this counter. open up this little tab. It's going to open up our sheet panel, and you can either drag the whole counter over, it'll do that like this, or you can click on Add to Sheet. And we can scroll in here to make it larger so you can see them side by side. Obviously, they're both the same unit, so if you don't want one of them, you can just hit right mouse button and it'll take it away. Let me show you a couple of quick little features in here. Let's say that you have, let's add a second one here. Let's say that you wanted a different color on this. Go back to your counter, and let's say you want this to be kind of a, kind of a tan color. Let's see. So you notice that as your drawing area gets updated with new colors, so does the sheet because it was highlighted. This one was not highlighted, so it did not change. Now, let's say that we add several counters to our sheet here, and after we're designing this, we're like, I wish these were a completely different color. Wouldn't it be great to be able to change all of them at one time? Well, you can. You simply shift and click each one of the ones you want to change. Let's say these first four we want to change. Then we go to the counter fill color and we change those colors. This one stayed the same because it wasn't highlighted, had not been clicked on. And now we instantly have new colors on our sheet without having to worry about doing these one at a time individually. One last thing here is if you wanted to go back to a different unit here that you had on your counter, you can just click on this once to highlight it, click it over to the drawing area, and it's uploaded now. This will become more apparent later on when you have different types of units and different strengths and so forth. And as you design your game, you realize that you might need to change an armor unit or an infantry unit, strength or movement points. Extremely easy to do it here. This would take hours and hours if you were doing it in Illustrator or Photoshop. You can do it with just a couple of clicks. Hope you liked the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.